Hello, everyone. We will start with who is this guy talking to you today. For those that don't know me, I've been with the community for a bit over 2 years. I'm currently the pipeline support lead at Chronosphere, former Calyptia support lead, and I'm a contributor also on Fluent Bit. During my journey, I've worked with some Fortune 10 customers, and yeah, we're going to talk a bit about the experience from deploying on this huge environment and how we have been helping customers succeed, and of course the community. If you want to have a chat afterwards, I'm usually active on the Slack of the community and in the GitHub repo as well, triaging issues and also helping with the documentation. So what are we going to go over today? We're going to do a brief review of the common architecture patterns to deploy your Fluent Bit agent and how to monitor the Fluent Bit agent, a bit on troubleshooting in production, uh, some tips on doing this, and some tuning, which is loaded with suggestions and ideas on how to do that. For those that have done tuning on any piece of software, you know that is more an art like an actual science. So you have to uh, balance what you want to accomplish and your resources and some best practices that we have learned from these customers and deployments. So if there is any in the audience that is not up to date with Fluent Bit, we're going to do a brief intro. So Fluent Bit is currently a full open telemetry agent, which started with logs, but then starting in version 2, we introduced metrics and traces, and now is a full telemetry agent supporting these three observability pilots. And also we have open telemetry protocol implemented in the agent. We are capable of work with millions of messages per second, depending on your needs and the deployments. We basically do one thing, and we do this one thing really well, which is moving data from A to B, right? It's quite simple, but in the middle, you can filter, you can further process your data, enrich it, etc. And yes, you can see here on the right, there are some companies that are using Fluent Bit. And yeah, I think one of or two of these companies should be familiar you with. And this is widely used. We have surpassed 13 billion Docker downloads. This is only the count from the Docker Hub registry. So it will not count if you're getting it from another source. It will not count if you are only downloading once and then put it into your internal image repository or registry. So yeah, we think it's well used, and that's why we want to also share with the community on these webinars. Fluent Bit was born after FluentD, which is a CNCF graduated project. So it's fully open source, fully vendor neutral. So if you want to go full open source, yeah, you can do it with Fluent Bit. So how does it work? We will take your data from any sources that you have, and we'll move it to any a destination that you need to move your data to. And you can do, of course, gathering of the data from multiple sources and send the same data to multiple destinations as well. So this is, as I like to say, this is one agent to rule them all. You can send to any provider that you have in the backend, and you are plenty of inputs to grab your data from. We keep your data safe if that's something that you need by persisting data to disk. We can also do dynamic discovery from your Kubernetes containers. You can basically deploy it and in a daemon set fashion and get all your logs, matches, and traces from where it is deployed. And we also have the possibility of using Lua or WASM for even more complex processing that you need in your data. So if there is one case that is not covered currently out of the box, yeah, you can do that and comply with your needs. So you can connect every sources to all the destinations, uh, including your legacy sources of data. For that, we have a generic TCP and HTTP inputs and outputs where you can grab your data from or send your data to. We also have a lot of specific plugins for some vendors. Amazon S3, OpenSearch, Elastic, Splunk, Azure Blob, Datadog, Google Chronicle, you name it. It's most likely that we already have a plugin for the solution that you are currently using. And all that work with common data structures. We can handle JSON, and internally we use another format for representation, but Fluent Bit can deliver in the format that you need. And then again, we support log, matches, and traces, so full telemetry agent. And of course, you can have any inputs that you need and filtering for your information. We have some other formats like the Avro that we've seen. You can talk to Prometheus, you can talk to Hotel in both sides, input and output. So yeah. So that's the summary of what Fluent Bit is for those that don't know yet. So we're going to start now with the common architecture patterns, how you can deploy Fluent Bit. So the first one that we are going to discuss is a widely adopted architecture pattern where you will have the agent running in the node, right? And from this node, you will do the enrichment of your data or the filtering of your data, or you're going to do anything that you need that you could do in other places. But with Fluent Bit being lightweight, being light performant, you can do it on the edge. You can do it here in the agent, and then send directly to your data backend, whatever that backend is. And the second one is having Fluent Bit in the middle as an aggregator. This is kind of a centralized pattern where the agents running in the nodes are going to forward your data to the aggregator here in the middle, or your aggregators here in the middle. And so you can handle your configuration for filtering or enrichment here in the aggregator only, and you don't need to do those changes in the agents running in the edge. This this pattern allows you to have both the configuration and the processing in a centralized way. What this can help you with is that you can escalate if needed your processing power independently of your agent. So if for any reason the agent is not capable of processing all your data that you are generating, yeah, just forward it to the aggregator and do all the heavy lifting here in the aggregator before sending the data out to your data backend. Of course, this is not all the good. You will also have single point of configurations and probably a failure here if you have only one aggregator. And of course, you're going to need to have more power here in the aggregator component of your deployment. Yeah. So those are the most common aggregator, patterns that we see Fluent Bit deployed. So let's talk a bit about how we can monitor Fluent Bit in production. What metrics do we have there to see if Fluent Bit is running well? So this is a brief overview. You will have metrics from the inputs, from the filters, from the output, and also from your storage. You will also have metrics for the uptime of the agent. You can grab the metrics in different formats, like in JSON or Prometheus formats, for the input and output parts of it. You will have the number of records, number of bytes, files open, dropped records, retries, etc. And on the filters, also how many records do you have filtered or even dropped when your filter is doing so. And in the storage, you will also have data about your chunks. So we're going to talk about that later, and use memory, etc. So these are basically the metrics that you can have from the Fluent Bit agent. So how can you start scraping these Fluent Bit metrics? Well, there are basically three methods. The first one will be that you define your job in Prometheus and you grab the metrics from the Fluent Bit agent. Fluent Bit will expose a port to grab the metrics from, and on this case, we need it in the Prometheus format. So you will see that in the URL at the bottom line, that it's asking on the Prometheus format. And you can also gather all the metrics from the from all the components running in your Kubernetes cluster. So you will annotate this. It needs a little bit further config in the Prometheus deployment. And also you may need the permissions and some relabeling, but you can also do that to grab your metrics. And finally, you can have Fluent Bit to write your metrics directly to your Prometheus instance. So you can use this output plugin of Fluent Bit, and it will write there using the remote write protocol. So with these metrics that we have, we can start looking for some patterns that will tell us, hey, something is not completely okay with Fluent Bit. So one of them that we have heard of during KubeCon sometimes, and also from the community in Slack or GitHub, is the back pressure. So first of all, what is the back pressure? It's basically when you're trying to send the data to an endpoint, an endpoint, and this endpoint is not able to handle the load that you are trying to send. So it will tell you to calm down a little bit, right? I cannot receive all this data that you're sending me. So yeah, wait. So this is the back pressure, is not having issues in the ingestion or in the edge of your pipeline, but at the end of your pipeline, at the output of your pipeline. So with these metrics is kind of easy to detect. So the first line that you see up is the number of input records, and below you can see that the output started to go down, and it was kept down for a bit. If you have those in the same panel, you will see that there is a difference, right, between the input and the actual output. So this will be a back pressure scenario. This could lead to data loss. So you have to take some measures to prevent the data loss. We're going to talk about this later. So this is one of the important patterns that you should pay attention to. And then with using these same metrics, you should take a look on the retries that the agent is doing, and whether or not it's dropping records. Now, if Fluent Bit dropped a record, it means that it tried to send it to the endpoint and it couldn't send it. We have a retry mechanism. Basically, when it's sending the data, there could happen three things when you send the data to an output destination. So one is that it's okay, right? If it is an HTTP, as most of the cases, it will give you a 200 error code, and yeah, okay, I received your data. So that's the first thing that could happen. And then there is another one that could be an error that is irrecoverable error. Let's say an error 400, right? So on that case, yeah, that's an error. I cannot retry, so I will drop this chunk. It doesn't make sense that I keep trying because the error is in my side, right? And there is a third one that will tell the engine to keep trying, right? So let's say that your server replies with a 500 exception, or even a 429 for some providers. So that's when you can actually retry. So the engine will say, okay, I couldn't deliver this time, but based on the response from the endpoint, I will retry, or even based in the configuration of the retry mechanism, the engine will ask the scheduler to schedule a new retry task. And yeah, this usually happen when the endpoint where you're sending is not available, or another circumstances like your network could be down, or yeah. So these are common patterns to look after, and we will talk about how to deal with this, and how to further configure Fluent Bit to deal with these scenarios, or even avoid them. So let's talk about the troubleshooting in Fluent Bit, and just a brief summary of how this works. So this is a very simplified representation of the Fluent Bit pipeline. You will have an input or source of your data. You will do filtering or enrichment, and then we'll send it out to a destination. So this is the basic pipeline. So with this in mind, what you can do when troubleshoot Fluent Bit, we do some recommendation. First, of course, start with the logs. Look for error messages in the log, and also the warning message are worth reviewing. some of the warnings are related to retries. So yeah, that will help you to, for example, take a decision on how many retries you want to do of your data based on past logs that you are reviewing. And if you don't see anything there that leads you to the actual cause of your issues, if nothing leads you to the culprit, increase the log level and see again how Fluent Bit behaves. And then, or if you have kind of a black box scenario, you can take a look at the metrics directly and see if you have drops, if you have retries. We even have metrics for number of connections, for both total connections and active connections, and also chunk related metrics that could tell you, yeah, I'm starting to accumulate a lot of chunks and I'm not delivering. So there's an issue there. Another thing that you may find, may see, is the corrupted and rejected messages. This will depend on the provider that you are sending the data to. Sometimes they will provide you information on why it is failing, like incorrect format, like you're missing an index or things like that. So you can increase the log level of the output plugin to either trace or debug, and you will see further information there. Even more plugins like Splunk, Elastic, and OpenSearch uh, allows you to set the trace error and trace output options, and yeah, you will see a specific errors for those, and you can even see the actual request and response if you need to further dig into that in case you haven't find the culprit yet. And one that is always recommended as the first step when you're just starting to try is to check the standard output. We have a output plugin that sends the data from your pipeline to the standard output. So it's pretty easy to start with that. Just add the output plugin std out, and you will see the data flowing in your terminal. That's a good idea. And what if the formatting of your data is incorrect? Yeah, the std out plugin will allow you to see that. You can check into the format, why it's not correctly format, where I'm getting the data from. For example, we have seen that some users are trying to use multi-line parsers, but they are actually running their load in a Kubernetes cluster. So the first thing that Fluent Bit needs to do in that scenario is to format or to get rid of the extra data that the runtime will append to your logs. So, okay, I know that my application log is of this format, but having a parser for that format is not working. Okay, it is mostly because your runtime adds a bit of extra information to the left of your log event message. And another one that we recurrently see is the multi-line issues. Try to first use the built-in ones. We have support for some of the most common languages out there. We have for Java, Go, Python support. We have for both most used runtime formats like CRI, Docker, and try to go with those first. And if that's not possible, then try to write your own multi-line parser, and try to use the latest multi-line implementation. There's one implementation that is replaced with the latest one, where you will define states, where you will define the regular expressions to match those, and it's simple in the definition, but yeah, for those that are not really friends with regular expressions, it could be a bit challenging, but yeah, the community is always there. Try to submit a question in the Slack channels, or even in the GitHub repo. We have seen that. Yeah, even though we try to keep the issues and the help request in the Slack channel, but yeah, it could be that someone is willing to help there. So those are the most commons that we've seen. I think during the KubeCon, we received, last KubeCon in Paris, we received some questions around these scenarios. So yeah, if you're still running on those issues, get to the community. Okay, tuning Fluent Bit. So before trying to tune our Fluent Bit deployment, we need to know some of the internals of Fluent Bit, some of them. So this is, again, the basic pipeline, and you should also know that Fluent Bit does the data serialization to the message pack format. So the chunk files that you will see in your buffer folder will be in this format. So you cannot just cut the content and see your data there. But compared to JSON, the use of space is very, very optimized in comparison. And the chunks are the groups of events serialized either to memory if you're not using file system storage, or to the disk if you're using file system storage. So this is how Fluent Bit groups the log events. And how Fluent Bit reads the data. This is also important to know if you want to start tuning for your specific needs. These chunk files are capped at 2 megabytes. This is a soft limit in the chunk size, because if you have a message that is that if you attach that message to the chunk and is going to be over the 2 megs, most likely it will append it to the chunk anyways, but then that will be the last record appended to the chunk. And this operation of appending to the chunk is done based on the buffer chunk size. This is how this is the amount of data that Fluent Bit will work with. And the processing is all done in memory. For this, Fluent Bit will work with your data, and internally it has 2 states for the chunks that Fluent Bit is working with. If a chunk is up, it's in memory, and it's Fluent Bit is working with it. And once Fluent Bit is done with that chunk, it will put it down. And here are some settings that Fluent Bit exposes. Most of the time, you will not have to deal with this because the default configuration for these have shown very good performance in the benchmarking, and even in the huge deployments that we have seen. But some of them you can for sure use. For example, the storage limit is something that you may want to control. Okay, I don't want to lose my data, but at the same time, I don't want to use all the disk that I have available. I want to deplete this resource. So you can put storage limits there. In the input side, we have two improvements over previous versions of Fluent Bit. You can have your input plugins threaded. So this means it will not run in the main thread of Fluent Bit where the engine is running. And the processors is a very good feature that further allows you to move the processing from the main thread to different threads and allow the engine to keep going with the task that it needs to run. Processors are only available in using YAML configuration. YAML configuration was introduced in Fluent Bit 2. It's still under development in the sense that we still adding new features there, but it is now safe to use in production already. And in the output side, you can have workers, you can define your storage limit, and you can also have processors. So instead of having your filters in the middle of your pipeline, you have input, filters, and the output, you can have processors in both sides of your pipeline. So let's say that the all the data that you're gathering, you want to enrich with the same extra data, but then you want to send the full content that you gathered to one storage provider, but to another one that most of the scenarios is an expensive one. You want to only send the data that you're actually going to need to see live. Let's say that you are sending this data to one provider, and the other you are sending it to cloud storage. And if you need to grab that data later, you can do it with Fluent Bit and use it as input of your pipeline. So these are some things that you can do. So one recommendation is to move from the classic configuration mode with stanzas, or very similar to the ini files, ini files. That's a good idea to move from that, so you can have the power of the processors. So this is how it looks now, this pipeline, where you have the input source, right? The filter and enrichment, right? The scheduler we talked before, and the routing, meaning how you send your data to the to your destination. And now with the YAML configuration, you have this extra power in the input and also in the output. So instead of doing filtering here, you can do it here right before sending your data. The YAML configuration is quite simple. We have documentation on this in the Fluent Bit docs webpage, so you can take a look in and try it if you want to. And yeah, sometimes you need to use multi-line, and you also will have multi-line is expensive sometimes, right? And you will also have a lot of filters that you want to concatenate one after the other. So when this happens, when you are running your data through a filter, Fluent Bit has to get the data, unpack it from the message pack format, and then pack it again. And the next filter will have to do exactly the same, unpack it, then do the processing, and then pack it again and leave it available for the next filter in the chain. So that's expensive processing to do. So what you can do, instead of having multiple filters degrading your performance, you can have only one Lua filter where you will do all the processing of your different filters. We saw in the past one cloud provider running benchmarks on this, and yeah, they tried, I think 15 or 20 filters. Can't remember the number now, but they transformed that from that number of filters to only one Lua filter, where they applied all the processing, and yeah, the improvement was quite obvious. I have a question here. Leonid, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Why the latest Fluent Bit Helm chart still has values YAML in the old JSON format versus a new YAML format we are encouraged to use? The documentation for the chart also refers to the old format. Yeah, that's right. There could be some artifacts and even some documentation that is not with YAML samples yet. And we will really appreciate anyone that could submit PRs for that. We are a little bit behind, but we are trying uh, to complete the documentation, to improve the documentation, and also the other artifacts that are there. So if you you can do APR, or you can sign those in the repost itself, that would be great. The help is always very welcome, and we appreciate that. We have a lot of users, but the community that is actively working, I think, is still small in comparison. Um, and again, the multi-line parser. Probably we should have one session dedicated to multi-line use cases, and to solve this kind of issues. Uh, we have seen something that what's called clubbing issues, meaning that instead of splitting the messages because the multi-line parser was incorrectly defined, they will have very large messages for that. And that's something that, yeah, can be solved by correctly define your multi-line parser. We usually work in these multi-line parsers using the regular.com webpage, where we can test the regular expressions against our content. And yeah, it's something that it requires a bit of practice, a bit of try and error. We have been trying to improve over that with the new multi-line parser. This image below is the new multi-line parser definition. This is how it works. It's basically a state machine for the parsers. So yeah, we are trying to do that, but yeah, it seems that sometimes is not enough, or sometimes you require a bit more of practice with it. And again, go to the community. The Slack community is over 10K users already, and I think the active should be around half of it at least. So yeah, let's go there and try to see if someone can help you with your issues. And yeah, when you go there to look for help, uh, something that a lot of users forget is to share the configuration or the actual error. Yeah, we don't want to see your private data. We don't want to see your API keys, no, but knowing the configuration that you're using and the actual error that you're getting, that's very helpful if you want to receive help from other community members. Okay, so a bit of best practices when deploying into production. We have already seen the common patterns, how to monitor Fluent Bit, how to start the troubleshooting of issues, and now we should see a bit of best practices when doing your deployment. In the ingestion side, uh, start simple and then specialize. Uh, the first attempt that you do should be to collect your logs and send them, for example, to the standard output and see how your logs are getting there. For example, if you're just doing that, you will probably see that the runtime where you're running your container is adding this extra data that we talked before, right? So start with that and then apply parsers as needed. And then when you're ready to send it to your destination, yeah, send in there. Know your logs. We have seen some scenarios where the people that needs to configure the parsers for Fluent Bit, the people that is actually collecting and processing the data before sending it to the destination, actually don't know the logs, don't know the format that the logs has. So if you're not using something standardized, or your internal clients or your internal people is not using standards, yeah, know your logs, try to get into a conversation with that and start from there, right? If it's possible, standardize, have one format for everyone, or even if they can just submit logs in JSON, yeah, that would be great, and will make everyone's life easier. And check your regex. We have seen some, even when we are trying to implement regular expression that, right? We have seen regular expression that are really expensive. And even now, you can use the AI chats to ask for the regular expressions. You can ask whether the regular expression is performant or not. This is something some of our uh, mates have been doing. I haven't been really lucky on trying that, and I'm not trying that again. Uh, I tried many times to use ChatGPT to make questions, and the servers were always like, "No, we cannot reply to your requests," and blah blah blah. And yeah, I'm not trying that anymore. But check your regular expressions. If you're not seasoned with that, yeah, look for help. Use the ruler that I recommended before, and improve them. Yeah, there should be always opportunity to improve what we're doing. And another best practices will be in the storage and buffering sections. So can we allow some record loss? How stable is our network or our backend service when we are sending the data? And sometimes we made some bad assumptions that will lead us to pain in the future, like my network is reliable. The latency of my network is practically zero. Uh, we wish that will be true, but it's not. So try to plan for that. Know your environment, know where you're running. If you have issues in your network, consider that. So make Fluent Bit to be prepared for that. And yeah, start there, knowing whether or not you can lose data. If you cannot lose data, then use storage type, the file system, right? Use the file system to back your data while you cannot send it over to your endpoint. So on this scenario, there are many things that could happen. So what happens when the data is not sent, right? As we discussed, it could be either retried or can be discarded, depending on the response from the server, and also on the configuration of your retries. Fluent Bit will or can delete your chunks that are not retriable or that are irrecoverable. You will just delete them. So you will, yeah, move forward with that. And during the error, what happened is that Fluent Bit has to, based on the error in first place, uh, decide if it can retry. If it can retry, it will schedule a task to retry that chunk based on the configuration. There is a default configuration for the retry timing that should be good enough in most of the scenarios, but if not, you can modify that and yeah, according to your needs. Sometimes if the retry is one that is going to send your retries very in the future, yeah, you should probably change that. But in most cases, the default should work. And the retry logic, by default, Fluent Bit will only retry once. And if cannot send it the second time it tries, yeah, that's it. Fluent Bit is going to drop that chunk. And if has more room to retry, if you have set the retry limit to a higher value, then it will schedule based on the configuration, but the time will start growing almost exponentially. So yeah, keep an eye on that. And yeah, so we are, oh wow, the time really fly. I wanted to do brief demo of what we have been talking about, but it seems we are over the time already. What do you think, Austin, or the audience, if you want to have an opinion on that?
I think if you want to jump into the demo really quickly, Lucaros, I think we have time.
Okay, let me launch this. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is a bit demo on some of these scenarios. Okay, yeah, we're going to simulate. I think we can see the back pressure now. Meanwhile, these loads, there should be another webinar coming soon. Do you want to jump on this, Austin?
Yeah, so we have another webinar coming up after this. This QR code actually will point you to the Calyptia free trial. So if you guys are interested in trying out Calyptia, we have a playground set up where you can actually send live data to, and it doesn't expire. So if you guys want to go in there and play around with a more centralized version of Fluent Bit and some of the stuff that Lucaros has covered today, this is a great place to do it. If you guys have any questions, we're more than happy to help out and jump in on those.
Okay, not there yet. So we have more resources here. The previous webinars are available on demand. So the QR on the left, you will get the Fluent Bit Academy URL. And also the Fluent Bit with Kubernetes book, written by our friend Phil Wilkins. There are new chapters available. This is for free. You will get new chapters as they are available. And yeah, if you want to take a picture of that, if you want to scan that QR code, you will get the book for free in your email inbox. Okay. Okay, so what do we have here? We have Fluent Bit Um, do- we have here Fluent Bit 3. We have a Grafana deployment. This is on Femoral. We have a Prometheus configured to grab the metrics from this Fluent Bit instance. As you can see, this is the URL that we discussed before. We have one HTTP server that is going to work as our endpoint. And yeah, we're going to generate a bit of loads over this. So what we have here, we have the same configuration with the previous format. And we also have the configuration with YAML format. It's quite simple. Should look prettier in your IDE, the YAML configuration, but basically here we are sending dummy data, and we are also reading from a specific location, and we are sending out to this HTTP server. It's not actually a Splunk, but we are using that plugin. So I'm going to start this server here. Okay. So it's running, not receiving any data. If I start Fluent Bit now, since we have the dummy plugin, this is now sending some records. So we have some movement here in the Grafana dashboard very quickly. Okay, yeah, there is starting to show data. Yeah, okay. So the full thing is working. I'm going to quickly modify this so we only will have the data from the tail plugin sent out to our endpoint. So this is from tail. Okay. And now we should no longer have movement. Yeah, no more records because we stopped the dummy plugin. I'm going to restart this, and I'm going to generate a bit of load here to see how Fluent Bit generates more metrics. Okay, so this is generating 1K per second. It could be a bit different based on the machine. This is a really small machine running different things. So we could have a number a bit below the actual 1K, but should be around it. So again, this is an agent running in one of the containers. We have Grafana and Prometheus in the same network, and also this server where we are sending data. As you can see, it is receiving data, 1K per second, and we can see it here when this gets up to speed. So this is a normal execution of Fluent Bit. Looks pretty nice, pretty small. Here, the difference between input and output should be around the rate that we expect. So yeah, 52K in the input and 51 in the output. So yeah, this looks good. This is Fluent Bit running well, right? Okay, and this is already at the 1K. But what if my output server has some delayed response? So let's say that this one has some delays sometimes, okay? So instead of receiving 1K per second, is receiving around 1K per 2 seconds, right? So what we should see is that the rate of the output should start separating from the rate of the input, right? We can see this going a bit below. And we should also see here when we have the total, yeah, also being different and also dropping in the number of process files, right? So Fluent Bit will try to compensate on this. Fluent Bit will try to send your data because you want that your data is being sent fast, right? So it is opening more connections now to send your data and to be sure that you're not losing the battle against this back pressure, right? So yeah, it's dropping. You can see that the input still is around 1K per second, right? But the output has dropped. So Fluent Bit is here we can see an error when the server was shut down, but then you can see that the chunks were successfully sent on the first retry. So this is the default configuration for Fluent Bit mostly. And if I put the server down further time, it will not be able to send the data the second time it tries. So as you can see here, the first one was retried in 9 seconds and the second one in 10 seconds. And this depends on a formula that is documented. And if it's not clear to you, yeah, you can ask in the community. I think in the past we have discussed this in Slack as well. Okay, so yeah, Fluent Bit is trying to send your data, right? But this is, yeah, it's not working. So once the server recovers the expected performance, so no delays now, Fluent Bit should be able to recover from this. And as you can see here, 1, 2K, 3K, and then it jumps, right? And you can see how it recovers. You can see here that, yeah, the next time it send data, the throughput to the output endpoint is, yeah, way better. And you can see here these lines getting together again, meaning that Fluent Bit has recovered, right? It's an actual Fluent Bit, but is your environment that was having issues dealing with the amount of data that Fluent Bit was sending. I have another question here. I'm trying to set up Fluent Bit instead of FluentD for logging to disk. In the new Fluent Bit, is it possible to configure the output to be saved to a file in a path that will dynamically change based on the tag? How can this be configured? What is the best practice for this? Example tag. Okay. Okay, so Fluent Bit will save to disk if you configure the file system storage, will save to disk. Yeah, but it's currently not possible to define that dynamically, I'm afraid. So yeah, probably something that if there is a use case, I know you have it now, right? But if it's more people in the community interested in this, could be something that could gain traction and be implemented. Yeah, I haven't tried like having variables there. So yeah, probably worth trying, but I'm not sure if that's going to work. Probably we should try that. If you can ping offline, my handle is Lecaros in Slack, so we could try that. Okay, we are over the hour. I think, yeah, this is something that you will see in the Fluent Bit when it recovers after the failed delivery of the chunks. You will see that Fluent Bit was able to send them to the endpoint.